You ever notice how many different ways there are to say, well, the same thing? I mean, sometimes the phrase is just updated because the idiom or the axiom or the colloquialism, well, it doesn't apply anymore. And then there are some of those phrases that we've used them forever and a day. And they don't make sense anymore because they illustrate something that, well, we don't do anymore. A good example, there's a phrase called a dead ringer. And most people today, when they hear the phrase dead ringer, what they think of is that person is like so very good at what they do. If you're playing baseball and you were to bring in, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers, people might look at you and go, but he's a pro football player. Why would you want him on your team? Okay, that's not a dead ringer. But if you were to bring in someone like A-Rod, that would be a dead ringer in your local community baseball team, right? So we think of a dead ringer like that. If you were playing a pickup game of basketball and LeBron James wandered onto the court, you'd go, okay, he's a dead ringer. There's no way anybody's going to score on that team when he's on the court. And they're not going to stop him from scoring either. Not in an average pickup game. That's the way we see the word dead ringer, but that's not where its origin came from. The phrase actually was from the days of the plague, when the bodies would go into almost a comatose state, long before we really understood what coma was, and all of the body's major functions would shut down to such a low level that the technology as they had it in that day would look like they were dead. And so they would bury them. And days later, they would hear banging and screaming and clawing, and they would open the box to find someone who had actually gnawed and scratched from the inside of the coffin trying to get out, because they weren't really dead and they buried them literally alive. So they started putting a string around the toe of the bodies that they buried, and they weren't really sure if they were alive or not. And then as they buried the coffin, that string would come out of the coffin, up through the dirt, and there would be a stick with a little bell on it right above the end of the gravesite. And should that person start moving while in that coffin, the bell would ring. And that dead ringer would be assigned to the caretaker that he needs to come back to the grave and dig up that body because it ain't dead yet. That was a dead ringer. Not the superstar playing at an amateur level. That's not what a dead ringer was. The phrase dead ringer comes from being buried alive. Who knew? But there are some phrases that I've heard other people use that I look at and I think, I probably wouldn't have said it like that, but when you really stop to think about it, it makes sense. My grandpa used to say one that when I heard it the first time, I went, well, I don't even know why you would want to say that, but okay. So last night I helped DJ and MC a wedding. I wandered around with a microphone and cut up with the crowd a little bit and do some video work for a wedding. And let me put it like this. If this was a map of nowhere, it was right here. It was like an hour and a half from my home to get to this wedding. And the further I went, the further I wondered if I was ever coming home. It was quite an interesting place. But the venue was gorgeous. The wedding was gorgeous. The bride and groom had a great time. In the end of the whole event, we're loading all of this equipment out. And we load in so much equipment for these events that literally we've had venues look at us and go, wow, y'all bring a lot of stuff. That's how much stuff we bring. When the venue comments on how much equipment you bring in the door, you bring too much equipment in the door. So we're loading all of these big boxes and all of these big crates and everything back in the truck. And one of the crew rolls a dolly probably 25, 30 feet away from the truck. They're all in a nice little row. And then he's picking up these boxes full of lights and cables and equipment and carrying them 25 to 30 feet from the dolly to the truck to stack them in the truck. And that's when it hit me how practical just flat out duh my grandpa's phrase was. My grandpa's phrase was, don't never carry nothing got wheels on it. Don't never carry nothing got wheels on it. Think about that for a second. If you wanted to lingo it up to be a little more polished, you would say, if it has wheels, roll it rather than carrying it. Or don't pick that up and hurt your back or risk dropping it. If it has wheels on it, it probably is heavy. So why would you park the dolly way over there and carry the stuff from the dolly to the truck instead of just rolling the dolly right on the truck, or at least rolling it up to the truck so that you only have to lift the stuff from the dolly into the truck? And then I remember James Malinchak. And he said something different than, don't never carry nothing that got wheels on it. He didn't say it like that. What he said was, anyone can work. And then from there you can choose to work harder or work smarter. And he used this illustration and I thought it was brilliant. He said, if I decided that I want to go from this room to the next room, I could stand against this wall and slam my head into the wall until finally the wall gives way. And that would be working hard to get from this room to the next room. If I decided I wanted to work smarter, I might grab a chair or a hammer or a table or something heavy and dense and use that to slam against the wall instead of my face, because it's going to get me through the wall faster using a tool rather than using my face. That's working smarter. Okay, I have to agree with that. He said, but then there's one more level that a lot of people don't think about. They either hear work harder or work smarter. Work harder would be parking the dolly 30 feet away and carrying the heavy equipment boxes from the dolly to the truck. That would be working harder. Working smarter would be rolling the dolly closer to the truck so you could then pick the stuff up off the dolly and lift it into the truck. That would be working smarter. He said, but there's really one more level. And a lot of people don't get this level because this level requires a coach or a mentor. It requires someone who has not only done this before, but they've found the shortcuts. They've done it so many times, or they've researched it so well that they know not only how to do this, but how to do it with a maximum efficacy, efficiency, effectiveness. And that is to work right. He said, now, I could work harder. I could stand here and slam my face and punch and kick and scream and yell against this wall until finally the wall gives out and I make my way to the other room. I could use tools, jigsaws, jackhammers, a chair, and eventually get through this wall. That would be smarter. But if I wanted to work right, I would walk 15 feet down there and turn the knob and walk through the door that's already been placed there for me to go from one room to the next room. Unfortunately, in our lives, those little colloquialisms, those little phrases, those little axioms, we tend to forget that somebody made that up out of necessity. Somebody actually had found a better way and said, don't ever carry nothing, got wheels on it. Because somebody was carrying something heavy. That's why they put wheels on it, so you wouldn't have to carry it. Right? You can work harder, you can work smarter, or you can work right. There is a right way to do it. Now, that right way sometimes costs you money. Knowing the difference between working smarter and working right isn't always free. That's true. That's why we have college degree programs. Think about it. Why do you go to school to become a doctor? Because you're studying in a field of limited knowledge. You're studying from those who have gone before, researched before, figured it out before, tried it before, practiced it before. People whose practices have been overseen and watched closely and examined closely for their efficacy, for their efficiency, for their long-term good results. And then those results have been duplicated again and again and again to prove that this new idea works. Now, sometimes we try things like the frontal lobotomy and realize, ooh, that was a bad idea. We shouldn't do it like that. Electroshock therapy, that probably wasn't the best way to do that. And it takes a while to figure out that we've been working harder or smarter, but not yet right. But that's the reason that we have these degree programs and why we have so much research and what we call R&D, research and development. We don't take anything for face value or granted. We dig into it and we learn more, and we dig into it and we learn a little more, and we dig into it and we learn a little more. One of the guys that worked with us last night, it's only the second time I've worked with him. He's new to the whole DJ industry, although he's been around bands all of his life. And so there are some things that we do that we figured out the hard way. We've done it wrong a few times, and we look at it and go, don't ever do that again. Somebody make note. That didn't work well. When the team first purchased this gigantic video screen, think the Cowboy Stadium video screen. What we have is about a quarter of that. But imagine taking that thing down and putting it back in boxes every event. Well, it weighs tons. When it's up on its truss, it's over 1,000 pounds. Which means there's some math that goes into what kind of stands do you have to have when the whole thing is assembled, and what kind of truss goes across the top. And you better be able to do some algebra and discern just how long is that span and how many pounds per feet can it hold and what kind of brackets have to go across the top. And believe it or not, my dyslexic son is the one who figured out the engineering aspect of actually putting the whole thing on the truss. Because the first time they brought it out, they set it up at the event and they looked at it and went, that's going to fall over. One little wind gust and $50,000 is on the ground in pieces. But my son was determined not to let that go. And he just kept playing with new ideas. Back to Home Depot, come back and try something else. Back to Home Depot, come back and try another thing. Until finally we got a combination of what they sent us and what we purchased and what we devised until we found a system that works. Now, you can still, using the system that we have, do it wrong, as was demonstrated last night. There's still a way to mess up that process. But there's also a system that we've worked out as a team that when everybody on the team has experience doing it, it's second nature now. And we just, each piece goes where it's supposed to be. You can work smarter, you can work harder, or you can work right. And working right often involves an advanced education, or working with a mentor, or working with someone who's done it wrong so many times that doing it right is now second nature. That's a pretty big deal. So let me ask you that question. Are you working harder in your life? Are you working smarter in your life? Or are you working right in your life? If you're an entrepreneur, which I'm transitioning back into full-time entrepreneurship at the end of this month. I've been 40 hours a week working for somebody else on an agreement, and that's coming to an end. So I will still be on contract with them through the end of the year and still serving in all of the roles, but I will be a full-time entrepreneur with committed time for them as a client. Being out of the cycle for 18 months, if you've never been fully self-employed, which I have been since 2008, if you've never been fully self-employed, you forget, or you don't know, what it means to fill the pipeline. Well, filling the pipeline for any kind of business means networking. It means meeting new people. It means getting your ideas out there in the marketplace. It means marketing. It means communications. It means sharing your ideas. It means proving that you're capable of doing what you say you can do. It means actually doing it so that people have evidence and proof that you've accomplished what you said you're capable of. That's an ongoing process. And it's the part of working on your business that many entrepreneurs fail to succeed at. And the reason they fail to succeed at it is because under the category of working smarter, working harder, and working right, it's in the working right category. Working on your business rather than in your business can be a fatal business decision. Here's what it looks like in practical application. Rod Baker, as a DJ, probably has mastered this as well as anybody that I know personally. Now, I know there's some other guys out there. The Marbecca method, as an example, is an illustration of working on your business and in your business at the same time. Peter Mary's greatest wedding reception ever is another illustration of working on your business, not just in your business. Those are very isolated to the industry. Let's just say maybe you're a plumber and you have 60 hours worth of clients every week. And then you have the crisis clients that call after hours or on the weekends or Sunday while you're in church. And so in order to maintain your level of business and continue growing your business, you take every call, you handle every client, you do whatever job comes to you because you have to, because you need to generate that income. Well, there's a switch that happens along the way as a business grows. And that is, you get to a place where you realize, I can't do all this on my own. All of this work that needs to be done is taking up all of the time to get the work done that I have to get done in order to go to the next level. So maybe it's a plumbing business and you realize I am stepping and fetching at every phone call and I'm still driving a truck that's 12, 15 years old and it has no business signage on it. Well, some might say, well, if you're that busy, who cares if your truck has signage on it? It's been about 18 years ago since I had my first small business ad sales consultation with a client. And I'll remember him probably the rest of my life. His name was Mr. Zimmerman. He was a plumber. And at the time, the best form of advertising for a small business was the Yellow Pages. I know you don't know what that is, but it was a big deal. And in the Yellow Pages, if you don't have a display ad, that means your name is listed alphabetically. You can imagine where the Z's were. In the reality of advertising, it takes 6 or 7 impressions before someone remembers your name at all. So if you're the guy looking for a plumber and you read through all of the plumbers in Dallas and got to the Z's, you would still have to see it 6 or 7 times before the name would stand out to you. The difference is if you put a display ads are ranked based on the size, on seniority first and then size. So if there are multiple full-page ads, the first signed contract on a full-page ad goes first. If the guy's been there for several years, you're never going to get in front of him unless you buy a bigger ad than a full-page ad. Yes, it's called a double check. But if you've got just your in-column listing and you're spending $300 or $400 a month on it, in the plumbing category, which is an extremely busy category, getting yourself from the last page of the last entry on the bottom of the page in the gutter to the first page is the difference of about $500 a month and $6,000 a month. And so I asked Mr. Zimmerman, do you like the plumbing part of your business that you get from those phone calls? He said, most of those phone calls are septic repair. I said, do you like septic repair? He said, no, there's so few people that have it, but I'm the only guy listed in the category. That's interesting. I said, what about the ones under plumbing? He said, I really don't get that many calls under plumbing. I mean, we have enough business to stay really busy. We've had to hire a couple of other crews, but we're not doing like Yo-Yo over there with the, Mr. So-and-so with the big double 2-page ad. I said, well, I can imagine you're not. I mean, nobody ever sees your ad under plumbing. You're like way back there. So let me ask you this. What would you want to do less of, and what would you want to do more of? I'm getting to a point that will change your business. I'm about to give you $100,000 worth of advice. If you're not paying attention, it's because you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a leader, you're not trying to grow something. If you are any one of those, you better pay attention because I'm about to give you $100,000 worth of advice that could change your life. What I told Mr. Zimmerman was there's a point where you've got to fire the customers who are paying you because they're paying you too little and they're asking you to do the work you don't really want to do. Because they're paying you too little and they're asking you to do the work you really don't want to do. And at the same time, you've got to be ready to hire. What happens when you hire someone? When you hire a team, when you hire a project manager, when you hire a receptionist, when you hire another plumber, you put money out of your pocket. Not in the form of spent disposable money, but well-placed invested money, which allows you to grow. And he said, yeah, I get that. I've been in business for a long time. I said, great. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to take your ad out of the septic column altogether. I want to cancel that ad. He's like, I'm going to lose a lot of business from that. I said, I understand that. But 5 minutes ago, you told me that the guys that are calling you at 3 in the morning to clean the overflowed commode out of their white carpet and the ones that call you about their septic tank are not the people you want to deal with every day. He said, no, I really don't like them. But they give me money. I said, who would be the guy you would want to be calling you on a regular basis? He said, I love new installs. So if there's a home builder, like a custom home builder, and they want to do the whole, walk-in tub shower install, he said, we've got guys on our team that are incredible at tile work. They're incredible at installing these jacuzzi tubs with the shower integrated. They're incredible at creating a spa-like environment in your bathroom. And they're on contract to me, so I make a lot of money off of their projects. And of course, me doing the plumbing on those new installs is a whole lot easier because I'm not having to dig up a foundation. I get there before the foundation comes. I get in on the ground floor, literally. And so I turned to new installs and remodels, and there were no ads. Zero. I said, do you realize that if we drop your listing in plumbing and your listing in septic tanks and we invest the same dollars in a half-page ad under remodels, you'll be the largest and the first ad in the category? And he was like, really? I said, yeah. So here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a transition time. Think of the fader on your radio or on your laptop when it goes from one song to the next song and you want it to crossfade, and so one song starts dying out and then the other one starts to play up. That's what's going to happen to your business, and your septic business and your Roto-Rooter rescue at 3 in the morning business is going to fade off to nothingness. But suddenly all the remodels are going to start to pick up. The remodels and the new installs are going to be an entirely new category of business that currently you're not getting any phone calls on. But you will start. He said, I'm in. I want to do it. Design me an ad. Show me what it's going to look like. So we did. We went through the process. We signed the contract. I think in the end, my commission on it was about $8. And when I hung up the phone with him after I was done, he said, I just got to ask you one question. I said, what's that? He said, we've had that same ad in that same phone book, the exact same ad set for 7 years. Why is it you're the first person who walked me through the process to change that? He said, in the end, my ad price didn't change hardly at all. What did you get out of this? I said, I got out of this knowing that I did the right thing for you as my customer. And in my eyes, that's much more important than my paycheck. He said, okay, but if it was the right thing, how come none of the other ad salespeople did it over 7 years? I said, because you talked yourself out of success 7 years ago. When you closed the first ad and you started getting phone calls, you got busy working in your business. And you probably, I'm just guessing, said the same thing to every sales rep who's called you from our company that you said to me the first time I called you. Because the first time I called you, and I said, I'm calling to talk about renewing your Yellow Pages advertising, your comment to me, your immediate response to me was, it's working great, leave it just like it is. But I had already done my homework, and I had a plan for you. And that plan, I believe, will make a big difference in your business. Now, I didn't work the same book the following year. I didn't get a chance to call him back and see how his business has done for him. And since Yellow Pages is a different industry now than it was that many years ago, I'm not sure that he would know who I am or remember me. Like I said, it's been 18 years. But here's what I know to be a fact. When you spend all your time working in your business, face to face with your customers, you may be proving the longevity of your business. You may be gaining new clients and gaining new referrals. But if there's something in your business that needs to change, no one is going to change that but you. Which means there's going to be a moment that you're going to have to step out of being in your business, serving your clients, and work on your business, taking it to the next level. That might be your marketing plan. That might be your advertising plan. That might be your employee plan. How many do you have? What do they do? What are their tasks? What are their assignments? It may be your customer plan, your customer acquisition plan, your customer detail plan. Who are they? Who is the right customer for me? Who do I want to brand myself in front of? Who do I want to serve? Who am I confident that I can serve very, very well? You can work smarter, you can work harder, or you can work right. James Malinchek's words, like my grandpa's, don't never carry nothing, got wheels on it. Those words still ring true today. If you're running a business, if you're leading a team, and you're making decisions day by day as the crisis comes up, how you'll resolve the crisis, and you're not making the decision, how will I run my business better? What's next for me? What does next look like? You may find yourself working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, putting money in the bank, but you'll never find yourself stepping back from that. One last illustration. Michael Hyatt spent many, many years as the CEO of Thomas Nelson. As CEO and publisher of Thomas Nelson, he started off in the sales category, working with publishers, or working with authors, getting their books published, walking them through the process. When he retired as CEO, he was also a blogger with 100,000 people following him, etc. And he had written a couple of books on leadership, and he had done leader cast interviews and things of that nature for many years. So he was recognized as a speaker and was making pretty good 5-digit money, really close to 6-digit money per speech. And then it struck him one day, I spent a whole lot of time away from my family to generate this level of income. What could I do with the knowledge and the wisdom that I have that wouldn't require this kind of travel schedule away from my family, that would give more people access to what I know and understand at a lower price tag, and still ultimately benefit my bottom line? When he accumulated that knowledge into one place and started stacking that up with interviews, he created what's now known as Platform University. And if I remember his numbers right, somewhere near 1,000 people signed up in the first year for Platform University. I've been a member since the beta. I pay $30 a month. $30 a month for access to people who do behind the scenes interview and explain how they learn not to work smarter, not to work harder, but to work right. People like Lewis Howe, people like Amy Porterfield, Derek Halprin, people who have done their homework and their research and figured out how to take your business to the next level. I pay $30 a month for access to them. But do some math for a second. If you were the guy running an online academy and 1,000 people signed up the first year at $30 a month, do you think $360,000 worth of residual income, never having to leave home to earn it, would change the quality of your life? I think so. I think so. You can work smarter, you can work harder, or you can work right. To work right, you're going to need a coach or a mentor. So if you like the way you're banging your head against the wall now, bang your head. If you're ready to work right, it's time to get a coach. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. By the way, you can visit jlorennorris.com. I do speaking engagements literally all over the world. I train attitude and leadership in the Congo for the University of Kinshasa, for the government parliament leaders in Kinshasa and Kisangani. I've been to Brazil to train marketplace ministers and people who are running businesses. I was in Honduras, but that was years ago. We were actually building stuff with the Air Force for a school. So yeah, been around a bit, done a few things, spoken everywhere from high school campuses to the halls of Congress. If I can help you, call me. Go to jlorennorris.com. You can click on the speaker inquiry form and just answer the questions. And we'll set up a time to have coffee. I don't have a 40-hour-a-week job anymore. I can do that now. We can schedule coffee or a lunch and just sit and chat and see how I might be able to help you go to the next level. Have a blessed day.